Hello and welcome to After Hours with Audey. Thank you for joining me. This topic is why sensible sensing makes sense. That is a mouthful, but it's also an important criteria when it comes to selecting an air cleaner for the indoor air quality procedure. Let's begin by understanding the requirements of the standard. When you use an air cleaner to reduce outdoor air, you are required under the standard to have a device that is rated for particulate removal and gas phase contaminant removal. For particulate removal, you'll need to follow standard 52.2 to rate the product, and for gas phase contaminants, you'll need to follow ASHRAE standard 145.2. The next aspect of air cleaner selection as required by the standard is to evaluate how long the filter will hold up in the application, and therefore you need to evaluate the end of useful life efficiency of that filter. This is only applicable to gas phase filters, and you're going to look at how well it holds up against formaldehyde and one other nonpolar volatile organic compound. And you will rate your air cleaner's performance at the end of life for that filter. As you know, Smart IAQ filters are molecular filters and particulate filters. We're going to focus on the molecular component because they load a little differently than particle filters. Molecular filters lose their capability at grabbing contaminants over time because the filter is loading and it's losing places to grab contaminant in the air. So we're going to chart removal percentage of the filter over time. We'll start with some different values, 50, 75, and 25%, and we'll look at formaldehyde. And let's say our end of useful life is 25%. It starts out by removing 75% of formaldehyde on a single pass basis. And over time, it loses performance, as I said, and it ends up at 25% after some period of time. That's what we'll call the end of useful life. So how do we determine end of useful life? Well, it has everything to do with how quickly the filter loads, of course, which is, of course, a function of the generation rate. Now, generally, people are the leading causes of the generation of VOCs in this space, but it could also come from furnishings. It can also come from outdoor air. Comparing two different types of spaces, one with high generation rates and ones with low generation rates. What you'll see is given the same amount of time, those with high generation rates will have a shorter filter life. Those with low generation rates will have longer filter life. Now, obviously, we're going to test the filters to determine performance, but you also need to consider how much dilution air is part of it. More dilution from outdoor air will lead to longer filter life because you have less contaminant to remove. More of it's diluted. We don't have to guess about generation rates, though, because it's an important factor here. We'll use ASHRAE's generation rate data, and we can also test in the field. And this is where sensible sensing makes sense. Because we have variables like generation rate and filter loading and time, let's look at contaminant concentration in the breathing zone specifically and measure the value to determine when it's time to manage the filters or replace them. As a reminder, formaldehyde is a design compound and has a design limit of 33 micrograms per cubic meter. Over time, formaldehyde will vary. We have a theoretical change in value here over time, and you'll notice 33 is our design limit. How long does it take to reach this point? Well, I don't know. It has everything to do with generation rates, time, and different conditions in the space. And this is where Smart IAQ's intelligent sensing makes all the difference. We want peace of mind to know when it is time to take action for filters or air quality contaminant issues. So let's look at two different spaces with different concentration rates over time. In space number 1, formaldehyde starts low and slowly drifts up over time, perhaps as the filter loads. In space number 2, we have a very different situation. It starts out its life low and then quickly ramps up very high. Perhaps we've remodeled or made some other changes. In this case, the design limit, still 33, can mean a replacement needs to happen at either 12 months or, in the other case, 30 months. That difference is massive. Most likely the difference that's driving this, if you assume the same filter, are changes in generation rate. Now, that's impossible to predict before you design a space, and having sensible sensing, or the intelligence of Smart IAQ on board, allows you to have confidence that you will react to the contaminant when it needs to be serviced. And that's why sensible sensing makes sense, and thank you for joining me on After Hours with Audey.